everybody, David from Flash by V-Cycle Nut here. So if you've frequented my channel, you know I really like messing with air boxes and intakes and stuff. Sometimes you can really free up some air horsepower and area under the curve for minimal investment. So on the left is the stock 24 airbox lid. I have a DNA filter in it versus the 21 airbox lid stock with a stock filter in it. I haven't removed the stock filter yet. I haven't touched the tank on my 24. So then just a couple things. The airbox is smaller on the 24, but the lid, not that much different. And you can see that they removed these silly snorkel ass things that when the 21 first came out, that I showed removing them actually helped power. And then now they just have these two intakes, one larger, one smaller. So my plans is to first check the 24 with just putting the DNA filter in it and not touching the airbox and seeing what we get. And then I will do my normal airbox mod stuff. What I'm going to try on this, I'm going to try two things. First is shortening these snorkels. So anytime we start talking about airbox mods, people always talk about getting water in their airbox, like a drop of water is going to hurt anything. I am not changing where the thing breathes from. You're not going to get any more water in it than you would stock. All I'm doing is giving the air a more efficient straight path. You can see how far down these fit. And now the air is going to go all the way down there, curve back around. How the hell is it ever going to get to the full area of the filter? It can't. It's going to go through the bottom. So we're going to change it. I'm going to make them pretty short, maybe where that line is, cut them across. I've also seen people angle them, and while it looks cool, these I think are angled because they probably almost touch the bottom of the air box just to give it some room. But there's really no, you can see the shorter one's not angled. There's no real advantage to cutting them like that. It's still going to turn the corner when it gets to the leading edge, the smallest. The other thing I'm going to try on this is I'm going to try drilling on each side here. I think 1.5 inches is what I decided I'll go with. I'll let you know when I finish. And then, so first I'm going to check it with the drop-in filter, then just cutting the snorkels, and then cutting the snorkels and adding two other holes in the side. And again, that's not going to let in any more water because it's still up on the top like that and not really, not in any direct water line. And as I always say, if you think doing this, cutting snorkels, is going to get a lot of water in your airbox, go look at any Ram Air bike, because they just have a forward-facing big gaping hole in driving into the rain when you're riding the rain, and they never have a problem. So interesting that the new filter definitely, we'll see if the stock filter matches, but the DNA filter definitely has a lot of surface area, much more so than even my H2. It's making 250 horsepower. That's plenty of surface area for the filtration. So let's see what we get in testing. So when we compare the stock 24 filter to the 24M DNA filter, you can see the DNA has quite a bit more surface area. Whether the bike will be able to take advantage of it, whether we can get the airbox open enough to actually make some use with it, we'll have to see, but definitely potential there. Let's look at what we're going to compare. So this is the exhaust that's currently on my bike is the Black Widow. So this is what I made with my Flash, with the Black Widow, with the stock filter and stock airbox. And this is what I got when all I did was change out the filter. These runs are done about 25 minutes apart. And you can see I really didn't get anything. So I didn't see any gains with just changing out the filter. And just as a note, this was the same thing on the 21 through 23. When I just changed out the filter without combining it with any kind of airbox mods, I also didn't see any gain. So this is in line with what I saw with the 21 through 23. The next thing I want to test is, let's try to get some more air into the intake area. So we're going to try pulling off the little triangles on the side to kind of close in the tank and removing that foam that's from over top of the air intake. I got done my run with just the drop-in filter and changed nothing else. Really didn't see any gains. So I'm going to try a couple things to get a little bit more air in there. One was cut this foam back that's underneath the tank, and I'm going to leave the little side pieces off. I'll show you on the bike. What I've done is remove these little triangles that fit up under here. It still looks finished. Everything's still tight. So if this works, I'll be able to leave them off. If it doesn't, they'll be simple to put back on. Nothing's been cut. If you're one of those people that really worries about water, I guess this would increase your likelihood of getting more water in there. I'm still not really worried about it. But if you are, maybe you want to leave this off. So let's see what this does, if anything. And this did end up giving us a little bit on top, nothing crazy, about a horsepower, back a couple thousand RPMs. Nothing crazy, but it is a little bit of a gain, and it's on the top where we would expect more air to come in. As a note, the pieces that I took out do have like little gills in them that would look like they would collect some air when you're driving down the road. So it is possible that when you're riding the bike that it is getting this air in there. Impossible for me to know or to really test that. But definitely having those sides in there and that little bit of tank foam, pulling it did make a little bit of a difference. And again, these runs are about a half an hour apart. So here's my first modified airbox lid, first part. I cut the snorkels down. I did it right along the line that was on them, the little line, and there's what's left over. I used my Dremel with a cutoff wheel. Then I hit them with some 120 sandpaper and then some 600. They're pretty smooth. They look pretty good. And we'll try this now, see what we get. And when we throw the stage 1 airbox mod in the loop, we get another little small gain. It's a little no more noticeable, between 3,000 and 4,000 RPMs. Oddly enough, a lot of times when we start messing with the airbox, we get gains down low. And there's a very slight gain up on top also. But again, nothing really to write home about compared to without it. This is what my airbox looks like now. So, yeah, look at all that flow, all that pretty flow. Adding those couple of holes actually made it worse. So, yeah, do not drill the holes in the side of your airbox lid. Didn't do any improvements. It actually made losses pretty much everywhere. So I went back to the stage 1 airbox lid and I tested putting the panels, those little side panels that we took off, putting them on and off, and I was consistently, when they were on, I lost my gains. When they were off, I got my gains back. So that is the biggest thing that's really given the gains. So I'm going to go back and put the stock filter on it with those sides off and see what we get, to see how much of a difference the filter is actually making. Before we put the stock filter back in with the airbox mod and the side removed, I just want to show where we started with the stock filter, stock airbox mod, to with the DNA filter and the stage 1 airbox mod and sides removed. And you can see like there's a few thousand RPMs where we got like horsepower, maybe a little bit more, and a little bit more on the bottom, but nothing really crazy. Certainly wouldn't blame anyone for not doing any of this. But this is what testing's like. This is what development's like. It's not always making huge gains and big strides. You have to know, and the only way you can know is to test. So let's put the stock filter back in and see how much of these losses, how much of these gains we lose. And when I put the stock filter back in, lo and behold, it made the identical power to the DNA filter, basically. It actually popped up a bigger number, right? 118.2. That's actually the biggest number I've seen on my 24. But the curve is basically identical until the very end. The DNA filter holds on a little tiny bit better at the very end. So this shows that the gains are really from the stage 1 airbox mod, which is cutting the snorkels, removing them triangles from the inside of the tank covers, and from cutting that little bit of foam. So if you don't want to get the filter, don't get the filter, because you're nearly not making any more gains. It is nice that you can wash it and put it back in, but other than that, it seems like the stock filter is doing a pretty good job of keeping up with even a little bit of airbox mods. And I zoomed in real close in on all 3 runs with the air fuel ratio up. If I had it showed normal, they would basically be overlaying each other. You wouldn't be able to tell any difference. But you can see they're all within 0.1 of each other. And that's just variation from run to run. They're all basically the same. So this is nice, so it doesn't need any additional tuning if you do the airbox mod with the stock filter or with the DNA filter. So thanks guys for watching. Remember to hit subscribe and like button for more motorcycle related content.